everyone again. This is Steve, and it's time for another episode of TEC Sojourns. Now today, Paul and I are in Portugal. We actually spent about 5 days in the south on the Algarve coast. Then we spent 5 days in Lisbon, and now we are in the beautiful hilly and river city of Porto, which is about maybe 300 kilometers or so north of Lisbon. It is really a beautiful city, and as the name might imply, maybe you've heard that Porto, what it's really famous for, is producing port wine, which we have been drinking a lot of while we are here. So let me first of all just give you a sort of panoramic view of where we are, the river, and part of the town, and then I'll show you some other bits of the city. So I am standing on my hotel room balcony, and as you can see, there is the river, and maybe you can notice some signs of like Grahams and Taylors, and as we panorama around a bit, you'll see Sandeman, and these are producers of port wine, and most of the producers are on the other side of the river that you can see now, which is actually called Gaia, but it's part of the city of Porto. And up on the top of the hill you can see an old church and monastery. And if you can see part of that amazing iron bridge, what's interesting about that is that that bridge was built by the student of Gustav Eiffel, of course you know the famous Eiffel Tower in Paris, and his student built this iron bridge. So here we are in Porto, and there's the river, and then in a bit, I'll give you a tour of some bits of the city. There you go. It's a lovely sunny day in Porto, actually after a couple of days of on again, off again rain. And I'm having just a little stroll in the morning in the Ribeira area of Porto, which is the kind of old historical, very photogenic area of Porto, and I just want to give you a little panoramic view of what this area of Porto looks like. And you can see so many of the buildings are covered in these beautiful blue tiles, which are just so common all over Portugal, and they're really, really beautiful. I love the buildings here. And this is just a bit of the Ribeira area of Porto. I'm just sort of walking, and you can see going up this scenic street with the church right in front of us. I'm going to keep walking just a little bit to give you an idea. And then where we're actually headed right now, and that will be the next little bit I'll show you, is the amazing and beautiful Porto train station. So that will be a treat for you to see in just a minute. So we're just stopping for a brief little listen to some beautiful Portuguese music. So this is the train station, as you can see, covered in all this beautiful tile work. And actually it's one of the main tourist sites in Porto. The train station was actually completed in 1903, and all of the tile work, I believe, was completed in around 1920. And apparently the tiles basically all depict battles or battle victories that the Portuguese were engaged in history. So this is the station, and you can see the roof work. And let me just see if I can zoom in a bit. As you can see right there is sort of on one wall depictions of a pretty gruesome battle. And then inside, of course, are the tracks and trains. So that's the train station. Very beautiful sight of Porto. And here are two more of Porto's main sights to see. What you're looking at right now is the Palácio da Bolsa, which in fact is the stock exchange in Porto, and it was built, I think, in the last century or the very early part of the 1900s, and really is basically the commercial center of Porto, and is actually still in use, where the merchants of the city meet and discuss business issues. And right next to it is the Igreja de São Francisco, and that is one of the main kind of Gothic churches in Porto. And inside it is beautifully covered in gold leaf and murals and statues. It's really, really gorgeous inside. So now I'm on top of the bridge, or the Ponte Dom Luís, which is probably the most famous bridge. Oh, that's a tram going by on the bridge. And this bridge spans the Douro River. And you can see one side of it there. I'm going to pan and show you all the way around. Now this is the famous bridge I told you, made of iron and made by the student of Gustave Eiffel from the Paris Eiffel Tower. And there you can see the great view of Porto and the Douro River, and leading, as you can see in the distance, leading to the sea, the Atlantic. So we are now in the Douro Valley, about maybe 50 or 60 kilometers from Porto, and this is where a lot of the port wine comes from, where a lot of the grapes are grown, and it is delicious, delicious. Paul, how is the port?
I think it's 10 years old.
This is a 10-year-old port that we are drinking, and it is wonderful. So as you can see, it is the evening now, and we are going to be leaving Porto and leaving Portugal tomorrow morning to go to Paris, France. So I just want to leave you with one lovely night view of the Douro River in Porto. With the lovely church and monastery and the beautiful bridge. So I hope you've enjoyed this TEC sojourn in Porto, and we will see you next time. Bye bye. Ciao. Ingat.